Morning folks, and welcome to episode 13 of the Eva Christie handknitting podcast with me, Eva. If you are American and celebrating today, happy Independence Day. It is the 4th of July. In the UK, there was a movement that was started about 5 years ago by independent businesses, and it's kind of known here as Independence Day. So if you are out and about today worldwide, please think about shopping local and supporting your independent stores, even if it's just something like a greetings card or a pint of milk or a loaf of bread. It's just a token gesture, then please do, because it makes a huge amount of a difference. I hope you're all keeping well. It's not too bad here in Perth at the moment. I don't think the weather's quite decided what it wants to be yet. I am a little bit run down though at the moment, so I've got one of my big wraps that I've knitted in Noro Curapatra even, a while ago, and I'm drinking a different beverage in a different mug today. So this is my other Moomin mug that my beloved bought for me, so you can see Papa Moomin on it, but on the other side is Moomin Mama. She's knitting. And inside here I have got some lavender and echinacea herbal tea from Heath and Heather, which is a UK brand, and it doesn't taste quite as disgusting as it sounds. So I'm sure that will fortify me through today's podcast. I should really tell you where to find me. But before that, welcome back to my core and existing viewers. I absolutely love all of you. You're the reason that I keep doing this. You're just also supportive, and I love chatting to you on a weekly basis. I hope you enjoy it too. I guess that you do, because you keep tuning back. And if you're a new viewer and you're just checking me out for the first time, then thank you. I know that there are so many podcasts out there, and I know, again, that's such a cliche, but it is true. And the very fact that you're just spending some of your really precious time checking me out is appreciated. I've taken on board what some of you have been saying, and I have kind of changed my backdrop a wee bit, so the lighting is different today, and I thought we'll just give it a shot. I don't think it's maybe quite as bright, and the colours of the yarns and things that I show might not show up as brightly, but we'll give it a bash. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. But as to where to find me, well, you'll find me all over social media, although I tend to be a lot quieter these days since starting the podcast. Because I think it kind of covers everything that I've done in a week, and like I said, time is precious. So you will find me on Ravelry as Pan Within. We have a Ravelry group there as well, which is the Eva Christie Hand Knitting Podcast group. Please do go and check it out. For any yarnaways and competitions like KALS that we're having, you do have to be subscribed to this channel and a member of the group to participate. It just kind of keeps it fair for everyone, really. And I am on Facebook and Tumblr as Eva Christie Hand Knitting, and I'm at Eva Knits on Twitter. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about today is the Glasgow Subway KAL that we've been doing. I've got my board down here. I have had so much admin to catch up with this week. It's been unreal, and that's not me complaining, it's just fact. It's just the way it goes sometimes, and it is like a necessary evil when you are a one-woman band trying to run your own business and generally do absolutely everything else. So I've not had a chance to pimp up my board, so I'm hoping that this will suffice for the time being. So this is how we're doing. We've had a couple of new people join in on the KAL, and I'll just kind of talk away through it and let you know how we're doing. So again, if I've got anything wrong, because you know how it is on the forum boards and everyone's kind of commenting in the threads, apologies, it's not intentional. Get in touch, send me a message if you're maybe a wee bit further ahead and I'm not aware of that and I've maybe missed something. So nobody that I'm aware of is still sitting at Kinning Park, although there is time still to participate because this KAL's going on till the 31st of December. So join in if you like. So these people will have moved from Kinning Park and on their way to the first station. So we have Granny Sheep, This Boy Knits, Mint Pixie, Shar Knits, Loozle, Vivacia Knits, Mary Punk, Whiskey Girl and Silverdale 11. Currently having reached Cessnock and be winging their way swiftly to Ibrox, we have Miss Katie Ann, Yarn Girl 900, Woolen Flute, Sam Glover and Bubby's Mom 77. Then further along at Ibrox, I'm going to fall off my corner group here, we've got Handbag Krazy, Tall Polish Girl and Ladybug Lily. So it's getting quite competitive up this end for fellow podcasters. And Govan, I have reached Govan. I am winging my way to Partick. And at this point, I'll be honest that with the sheer amount of admin and stuff I've had to do this week, I don't have a running total of my meterage for you. I have a fimbly feeling that I might actually be relatively close to Partick, but I'll try and update you with an exact meterage next time we talk. I hope that's okay with you guys. So we're going to move on to Rehomed yarns, and I have one cute little yarn barfy ball of yarn that made its way to me in the post. So like many of you, I'm sure, took part in Charlotte and Gus's podcast post-scrapping swap, and there were a few sort of teething problems for me, certainly, because the person that I was supposed to send to never got back in touch with me with their address, so I was waiting and waiting and I couldn't choose what I was wanting to send because I was trying to make it as specific to the person as I possibly could. But I had somebody else entirely sending to me, and my card arrived this week and I just absolutely love what I got. So the whole idea was that your partner would send you a postcard, and a lot of people just couldn't source postcards, and that's fine, because I think unless you live in a big sort of touristy destination or have somewhere like Paperchase close by where you get the same things in every single location, then you know, they're quite hard to come by. So a lot of folk were sending greetings cards, and then you sent between 5 and 10 grams of sock yarn to your partner, and everybody got something. So it was absolutely lovely. So first off, my partner was Jamie, who is Winged Orange on Ravelry. So hi Jamie. And this is the bit of glare. This is the fantastic card that she sent me, and I absolutely love it. There's just so much humour here, and if you look up close, it took me a minute or two because I missed it just laughing at the dogs and thinking how cute they were. But yeah, the number plate here says fetch. How funny is that? And I've got it's all written inside. I'm not going to kind of talk about what Jamie's put inside because that's personal. But I was really quite touched to see that. I just thought, yeah, that's my sense of humour. I do like cute and humorous. And she sent me some yarn. I'm not quite sure what it is, apart from the fact that it's absolutely gorgeous. So I've got, let's see if it picks up properly. This is like a green yarn that's got some teals and such in it, and yeah, just sort of other sort of splashes of colour in there. It's like speckled yarn. I think there's speckles of sort of like a maroon and brown and blue and teal. And she sent me a wee stitch marker that she's made as well. How cute is that? So I am absolutely thrilled. Really, really sweet. If you bear with me a minute, I'm just thinking as the light kind of dulled down, we'll see how it goes. If it gets worse, then I'll see what I can do about the lighting to try and alter that a wee bit. So that's my Rehomed yarn. However, also during the week, when I wake up, the first thing I do is kind of like get the kettle on, switch on the internet, go and snuggle back down in bed with Smeagol in particular. Smeagol is my little familiar, and she just likes to cuddle up with me. She's my cat, or one of my cats if you haven't watched my podcast previously, both of my cats have made an appearance, as has Tashi, who is my very good friend Sujatan's moglet. So we snuggle back up in bed. I have a strong cup of coffee, switch on the internet, my tablet, and have a look around, and I just quickly check out social media, so sort of messages and notifications. I check what's going on in Rav regarding, are there any extra posts to threads that have started off in the group, private messages. And I discovered that the gorgeous, sweet Barb, who is Mint Pixie, had gifted me a pattern. And I really can't wait. I've got some ideas already, and I'm kind of having to rein myself back, as we'll come to a bit later in the podcast. But Barb, who's also Mint Pixie, gifted to me a copy of Mina Phillips's, I've got it down here, it's the pinwheel scrap blanket pattern, and I was just so touched. What a lovely, lovely, sweet thing to do. I really, really do appreciate that. I do have a fair amount of Aran wool scraps, which is kind of the same as worsted weight. We tend to call it Aran in the UK. And double knitting pure wool scraps are coming up, including a mini that David, who's this boy, hi David, gave to me during a swap at the Worldwide Knit in Public Day event that I was co-hosting with Culture Perth and Kinross. So ideas coming together, and you know, if I could get away with it, I would just knit blankets all the time, because I absolutely adore and love blankets. So future long-term project. Thank you so much, Barb. Okay, talking about this boy David, I know a lot of you watch his podcast as well, so I'm not betraying any trust when I say that he's not been keeping too well recently. He had a short stay in hospital not so long ago. He is on the mend, which is fantastic, and he made it through to Perth on Saturday, so 2 days ago, with his partner, who's Dave. So Dave was driving David through, because David can't drive yet, and it was a bit difficult because Josh and I had our nephew Theo, who's coming up for about 6.5 now, and the school summer holidays had just started, so he'll be going into primary 2 after the holidays, and he'd really been looking forward to having a day with us, and we very much look forward to having him, which we do a fair amount, because his mum's a single mum, and we try and help out round her sort of shifts of work that she does. She primarily does a night shift, and we just adore having Theo about, and Josh is the only male role model that he has in his life. So I've been in Theo's life ever since he was 2, and it's been really important to me to kind of foster that really sort of positive relationship, because I know that there will become times in his life as he's growing that he'll have questions, whether it's specifically for Josh or whatever, and he might not feel exactly comfortable speaking with his mum or his nana about them, but he's got us as well, and sometimes it's a wee bit easier if it's one kind of step removed. And you know, there's not any problem at all in this world that can't be fixed, or you know, stresses that can't be resolved without just sort of being able to confide and talk to somebody in an unjudgmental way. So like I say, we do try and spend as much time as we possibly can with him to kind of nurture that now, so that he will come to us when he has those moments in his sort of teenage or adult life. So I took maybe about an hour and a half out from having Theo to go and meet Dave and Dave, and we had a cup of coffee at Starbucks. We did a wee bit of shopping down George Street in Perth, down some of the fabulous independent shops there. So once again we visited the Peacock and the Tortoise, which is the patchwork and quilting shop. It's got embroidery threads and all sorts in there as well. And then we popped up to the bead shop, which is known as Bead Krazy, and I think David got a few bits and pieces to make some progress keepers and stitch markers there. And then we said goodbye, lots of hugs and everything. I just adore being around David. He's really become really quite close friend. So the two Davids, or David and Dave, headed off to an independent coffee shop called the Bean Shop, which think I've mentioned before, is where I get a lot of my coffee beans. They headed off there. I jumped back to go and get the bus back home and spent the rest of the day with Theo. Had an awesome time with Theo. We do lots of crafty things and lots of sort of games and try and get as far away from technology as we possibly can, and he loves it. So we taught him Snap for the first time, of all things. I've got a Charlie and Lola card deck that I've had for years that I've never opened. So we're doing that, and I can't believe that it's a 6.5-year-old boy that's never played Snap before, but I suppose that's just the way that the younger generation are these days. So we did Snap, we did Clock Patience as a team of 3 as well. He just loves Lego, so we're playing Lego. We did some felt cat finger puppets. And then we all went out for a family meal together, which is just amazing. And we dropped him off just a wee bit later than we usually would, back to home. With it being the summer holidays, it doesn't really matter as such. And I think his mum wasn't working, but she was away off to a wedding, so she was going to have a late one. We probably went a lie-in the following morning, so the sleeping in a wee bit the following day wouldn't have been a big deal at all. So I've kind of rambled on a bit there, sorry. I should kind of probably do what other podcasters do and do kind of like a life update towards the end, but I tend to find sometimes it just flows a bit more organically if you kind of talk about things as they sort of come. If it's the case that you would prefer a life update towards the end of the podcast where you kind of opt out if you choose, then please do let me know. David, this boy, had said to me last time that he didn't watch any of the political bit in my last one at all, and I just felt I kind of needed to get it out there towards the beginning of my podcast, because the EU referendum had been impacted so many people's lives, and it was such a massive thing across the news. And I understand that Katie from Inside Number 23 did exactly the same thing. She went, elephant in the room, just need to kind of get this over and done with at this point, rather than having it in her general waffle part. But anyway, let's move on to finished objects. I do have some finished objects for you this week, and hopefully the light will pick up rather well. So first of all, we'll talk about the first square that I have put into my Cozy Memories blanket this week. See if the light's going to pick it up. Yeah, you can kind of pick it up there. This is one of the beautiful yarns. Do you know what? Give me 2 seconds. I will go and see if I'm putting on the overhead light, see if it makes a difference. I just don't want there to be too much glare either, so we'll give this a shot. Now we'll try and scoot back over. Right, there we go. Yeah, that might make a wee bit of a difference. So here is the first square that I've added this week. Yeah, although I think the colour is a bit blown out now. There's just no pleasing me today. So this is one of the lovely little mini skeins that Susan, who is Top Polish Girl and the host of the One More Row podcast, sent to me as part of our swap. So I just absolutely love it. This is Madeline Tosh Merino Light in Costo, I think it's pronounced, and the colours are me. This is me because my eyes are green, so I am very, very much drawn to green. Although blues, you know, looking at how I've been updating all the sort of Ravelry projects, it seems to be that I've been knitting with a lot of blue over the last wee while, and I've just noticed. No, that's okay, I thought I've gone and put my wrap on inside out. How awful would that look for a knitwear designer to not even be able to put on their stuff correctly? Anyway, I finished the second kicking bag yesterday, but I've not had the chance to weave in the ends that I've got. So this is the second kicking bag that I've done, and the pattern's a free one on Ravelry by Annika, I think it was. It's in my project page, certainly. I think there's a photograph of the other one, or if there aren't any photographs yet, then certainly there is like a sort of a project being live there anyway. There is a square for it. So this is a twisted rib up at the top. I knitted this in Opal's Sweet and Spicy, and it's the original Sweet and Spicy range, and it was Starness or star anise, depending how you want to pronounce it. So it was knitted from the twisted rib down. This is my progress keeper, this little progress keeper I made from an upcycled pair of earrings that I found in a charity shop. Unfortunately the join was just too weak on the second earring, so I could only get the one out of it. But how cute is that? So I've worked from here down, and it's got the 3 needle bind off. So that's 2 kick sacks now completely finished, ready for all these Flavour Unknown babies that are about to appear locally. And this was supposed to be the third and final scrap yarn sort of kitty blankie for my local branch of Cats Protection, and every single one has been slightly different. I love knitting loose patterns and thought that might be a way to kind of showcase a bit more about what I do, because I've been feeling a wee bit recently that everything that I've been knitting has been garter stitch or stocking stitch or maybe just a wee bit of cables, and you're maybe not seeing what I'm capable of. But it's not about that. Sometimes knitting needs to be functional, and I don't want tiny little itty bitty kittens getting their paws and claws and things caught in lacework. So I did another one that was just garter stitch, and that woven stitch just adds to the warmth. So this was supposed to be for Cats Protection, but Smeagol's been just showing so much interest in it, and to be honest, the cats could do with another blanket to be thrown over one of their beds. They've got several beds all over the place, several little bolt holes that they love. But when my mum started to learn crochet, she crocheted a series of squares and kind of popped them together in acrylic and went, oh, it's perfect for a cat blankie, here you go. And they've loved it, but it's seen far better days. So with the amount of interest Smeagol's been showing in this, and normally she kind of totally leaves my knitting alone, they've been kind of desensitised to it. I do occasionally get the hashtag helpful knitting cat photos, but Smeagol has loved this, so I think I might keep this one for them and do another for Cats Protection. But it's a giant, I don't know if we'll even get it all in, it's a giant mitred square. And I haven't totaled up the yardage that I've got in this yet, and I just started sewing in the ends this morning over the first cup of coffee of the day after I'd checked in everything. So yeah, various acrylics from Stash. Some will be as many as a good 10 years old. There's some sparkle in there. It's actually blue, Stellina sparkle. It's all double knit. I will put up my recipe for this one when I stick it up in the project page, because it's a good size for like a little throw blankie for animals. I've done it on 4mm needles. I just did it in a circular back and forth to accommodate stitches, and I cast on 223 stitches to begin with. So you're starting with the large stitches and you're just working your way up to the last 3. But it's been a good stash buster. While Josh was away last week, I think I mentioned that he was away last week down to Portsmouth on Monday and Tuesday for work. I did actually get the opportunity to go through one of the built-in cupboards in this place, and which just homes, I think it's like 80-litre boxes of yarn, which is only part of my stash. I managed to sort it out in a way that was more functional for the things that I'm doing before. It worked before in its process, but I've had to kind of up my game with how I'm working now. So that was great. It gave me an opportunity to revisit some yarns I completely forgot I had, because most of us do kind of experience that from time to time when you've been knitting for a long while. And yeah, just using up all those scraps has been fabulous. So we then move on to what's on my needles. I'll show you the picture first. And I'm going to talk about knit-alongs in a minute, so brace yourselves. My good friends, again, it just feels like I'm talking lots about David. Hi David! I'm David This Boy. David This Boy and This Boy Knits podcast and Kirsty from Little Bee started their first ever knit-along on the 1st of July, and it's a sci-fi slash fantasy knit along. Not really my style thing, not really my bag, but they're just both such lovely, lovely people. I wanted to support them in the way that they've given me so much support. So I thought I could do just a little something to participate, and lo and behold, when I was at my local library recently, I found this book just sitting on the shelf, so it was meant to be. This is Tech Knits, From Retro Robots to Space Rockets, 20 technology inspired projects for knitters, and it's by Sue Culligan. Now I think this book may have been updated since it was published, because when you look on Ravelry and look at the patterns, they're giving a completely different book on Amazon, but that might be an American version that they've got, because this one was published, yeah, it was published by Bloomsbury in 2013, so it's not actually that old at all. But the one that I am doing is the Flying Saucer paperweight. But I'm not going to do it as a paperweight. I'm going to fill mine with toy stuffing and spend it on some invisible thread and probably gift it to Theo. I don't know whether I might actually turn it into like a funky Christmas ornament. You know, the way that when you go to places like Paper Chase now, I think you get Paper Chase in America, but it's definitely a big thing here. But they do really, really funky out there Christmas ornaments. Over the last couple of years I've seen unicorns, I've seen Maneki Neko lucky cats, which I did have to buy because I am crazy about Maneki Nekos. Particularly the white ones, the paws up, because you tend to only manage to get those from Japan if you go there. And I think they've had robots and all sorts of things. I thought it might be quite cool with the size of it that it is, to give it to Theo to let him put it in the Christmas tree, and that would mean that I'm also eligible for another KAL. Like I said, I'm going to move on to all the KALs in a minute, and that is what this one's going to be called, I think, all the KALs. So this is a Flying Saucer. And that's the door, so bear with me a wee minute, I'm just going to pause. Jehovah's Witnesses at the door. Perhaps I should have invited them in to take part in my podcast. That could have been interesting. And my hair's a mess now as well. I'm more of a mess than it normally is. So as I was saying, Flying Saucer paperweight. That's it there. It is a published pattern, it's not a free one, so I don't really want to show you too many details because that wouldn't be fair. I love this. See these details here? These are actually like the poppers that you, and rivets like that you get on like shirts and jeans and things, so that is such a clever little detail. I've done the base here, I think that might be better picture of it. Yeah, so I've knitted the base so far, and I am knitting from Stash. This is some merino because I was just struggling to get the right shades of grey, and I've got a sparkle yarn that I'm going to use for the main body, but there wasn't enough to do the entire UFO. So I'm using some merino from Stash, and this is double knitting. The base has been done on 2.75mm needles, and I just knitted, you knit back and forth because it's short rows. So it's supposed to be that that's the bit that will face, so it'll go outer. You do short rows. There isn't a rat in the pattern because it says repeat for blank rows. So I've worked out from looking at the picture, it's actually 9 times that you would repeat that. So we've knitted it round. Stash yarn, it is a merino, it is double knitting. I believe it's, I don't think it's Sublime, although I'm a massive fan of Sublime. I think that this might be Rico Baby, but don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure. But the colour is perfect for metallic. And I did kind of show it to Theo just to kind of get his feedback on it, because I actually prefer the reverse side. And just thinking about things like E.T. and these sort of sci-fi movies and everything, to me this is kind of what I expect at the bottom of a spaceship, because I expect it to kind of spiral open and beam you up. And that's what Theo was saying, there's like lasers and things will come down there and the feet for it to kind of land in the forest. It's like spot on. So I think we're actually going to reverse the part there and have this, because look, it's pretty awesome, and have that outside, although there is a slight double here, but that's okay. I did make a modification to the pattern. What the pattern had originally said was to cast on and then cast off and seam together, and I thought, no, you're still going to have like a line that's not going to be quite right, and it would look better for this finishing that I went for. Should I keep it to this side, I think. But what I did was a provisional cast on, and I knitted around and then took that off, and I grafted the stitches together. So I didn't do the set and repeat, because it said do your repeats, and obviously there was the errata, so I repeated it 9 times, and it says repeat rows 1 and 2 again. So I repeated row 1, I didn't repeat row 2. What I did was I lined up stitches on the 2 needles, and I did a Kitchener stitch to graft it off, and I'm actually much happier than that as well. So yeah, I think that KAL runs for about 3 months, so I've got plenty of time to get that done. Excuse me, a bit croaky. So yeah, that leads us on to another thing that I wanted to speak about, which is all the KALs, and I think it's appropriate to kind of speak about it here. I'm going a bit KAL crazy at the minute, and it's because as a podcaster, why wouldn't you want to kind of participate and have that equal chance of winning prizes and being part of the community and just sort of pushing yourself and maybe making things that you wouldn't normally make. So obviously I'm participating in my own Glasgow Subway KAL that I am co-hosting with Charlotte, who is Charnitz of the, is it Charnitz podcast? I'm just having a complete brain blank there. So that's the main one that we're taking part in. There was the Void Along. I'm not doing the effect on the voice that Eric from Sticks Plus Twine and Katie from Inside Number 23 have been doing. So that one started, I think it was the beginning of June, and it was running until the 17th of July. I still believe that I was the first person to actually get the entire void knitted and cast off. The ends have been woven in, but it's not been blocked yet because we just haven't had enough good weather for me to be able to get this outside to block, and it's the only place that I've got space enough to do it and for it to get it dried properly. So I need to get that done before the 17th of July, because how ridiculous would it be to be participating, the first one to get it off the needles, and then to completely miss the deadline. So that's the second one that's still ongoing that I'm participating in. Then obviously we've got the sci-fi and fantasy knit along, and it's a knit along, crochet along and sew along that David and Kirsty are doing. So please go give them a bit of love as a fellow Scottish podcasters. Just go and get involved, because I do just rate them so much. And the discussion threads, particularly on David's thread, have just been absolutely amazing with all the different ways that people are getting involved and what they're coming up with. And then every quarter I take part in whatever knit along or crochet along that the Geeky Girls Knit have got going on. Now they are a mother and daughter duo who are Texan but are now based in Edinburgh, and they're doing the Summertime and the Living is Easy, or if I'm being like Cece, Summertime and the Living is Easy KAL, and that is kind of the way that they do it. Yeah, so you were casting on, I think it was the beginning of June, it'll run for 3 months, and yeah, as long as you can link your project in some way to Summer Living. So I've been able to do that, whether it's name, colourway, use, yeah. So I've been adding up a few things there, and I've still got more to add, because obviously I can add in these kicking bags to the babies, because they are for babies that will be born in the summertime. So there is your link. So those are to go up as well. Then there is the Connecting Continents KAL, which is the first ever KAL that Knitting from the Mitten, who is Tiff, and Lou Cookie Knits are hosting together. Now, I need to be honest here, I haven't checked out Lou Cookie Knits yet. She has been added to my watch later list. It's just hours in the day to kind of get through. So I will go and check her out. Connecting continents, I think, is a great idea. Having a look at what I've done, so obviously you can double dip and poly dip and everything in these KALs, so I'm thinking that as that also started on the 1st of June, sorry, 1st of July, I will probably, if I go and check out where Sue Culligan is from originally, nationality, and then the brands of the wool, where they've come from, and as long as they differ, then I should be able to enter my flying saucer. And they're knit along as well. So see, this is how it all kind of comes into play, and it is worth doing. Failing that, I do know that I've got some fleece artist yarn, which is from Nova Scotia, somewhere. Whether I would be allowed, I've kind of earmarked it for a project that I want to do one of my bias knit shawls in it. Whether I would be allowed to do that with my own pattern being Scottish, or whether they would be asking me to do something else, we'll find out. But there is a backup. There's always a workaround, and I think that KAL's going on for a significant amount of time too. And then there is there's the Box of Socks KAL, which I am falling so far behind, which I knew would happen, but it's just because I've got so much else on to knit and other stuff to do. Particularly, you know, I've got the Pressure Open Studios, which is happening in September, and I really need to get my skates on and get creating even more of my own personal objects to be selling at that, and that really should be the priority. So I have 2.5 pairs of socks down. I would be further, but the needles that I would need to finish off the 3rd pair, and probably to do many more, are currently being used for David's fingerless mitten, use Raider's fingerless mitten test knit, which I also need to get a move on. Yeah, and as if that wasn't enough, this is your warning about the next KAL. I kind of put it out on my last podcast just to kind of test the waters, and I've had a few folk come back going, oh, please do that. That would be absolutely epic. I'm on board. So, even if it is just a handful of us, it doesn't matter, because that's how the community works. But, and the name may change here, but the D'Urberville Along will be happening. So I'm timing it to begin on the 1st of August. So anybody who's taking part in Eric and Katie's Void Along, or any other of the other larger sort of KALs that have been running, will possibly be coming to an end round about that time. Taking my cue from Katie and Eric, who gave it 6 weeks to do the Void, I'm going to give 6 weeks as well for this KAL. I absolutely recommend that you try and get it in as many other KALs as you possibly can. And the yardage will be used also for the Glasgow Subway KAL. I'll be using it for that. So I still need to firm up the guidelines for it, but I'm putting it out there now that we're going to have these things. So the D'Urberville Along is knitting a Sonntag, which was originally a Dutch type of shawl, or kind of like half sweater. So it covers your back, and then it crosses over your chest, your breasts, and then ties round at the back, as worn by Gemma Arterton playing Tess and Tess the D'Urbervilles. So part of the D'Urberville Along is that you will use this time to knit a Sonntag, and you can knit any type of Sonntag you want. There are some fabulous free patterns in Ravelry. There's some paid ones there as well, or you might have found your own. You can work it in whatever thickness of yarn that you wish to. But we will also be reading Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy as we go. I have written up a reading schedule to put it over the 6 weeks, which gives you just over 10 pages a day. But the way that that's kind of fallen as I've worked out the schedule is that we can do it in sort of full chapters, and I've kind of done it week by week. So once this is uploaded within the next few days, admin that's still outstanding permitting, I will get the reading schedule up to give you guys an idea. So this is your warning that this is going to start on the 1st of August, so go source your pattern. You're allowed to swatch beforehand. I'm not going to be funny about that because I know everyone's got such busy lives, and it's summer holidays here in Scotland as well, so you know, people might not have quite so much time to kind of knit as well, but I think 10 pages of a book a day is manageable, really. So we'll get that up. So get choosing your yarn, get choosing your pattern, get swatching, and secure your copy of Tessa the D'Urberville. If you want to listen to any audiobook versions or watch the fantastic BBC adaptation starring Gemma Arterton and Eddie Redmayne as Angel Clare, then absolutely recommending that, but you do need to read the novel as well to be eligible for the prizes. Where are we going? Okay, I'm over 1 page of notes this time, so bear with me. At this point I want to just briefly run through what I am reading, watching and listening to, because this is a podcast which is about knitting, novels and other cultural pursuits. So first up, I finished The Lonely Londoners by Sam Sylvain, which is a great read, eye-opening, and I absolutely loved the writing style that it's in. See, for example, if I can say, I'm just trying to look for a wee bit where you can really get the idea about kind of how they talk. In particular. So this is a place, Capsy, where they don't pay you for the... This is a place, Capsy, where they don't pay you the first week that you work. The second week, Cap carry on as usual, catching the tube in the water and hopping off the gate. When the week over, Cap tell the girl that he left the work because it's too hard. How it is that it have a woman, no matter how bad a man is, that they would still hold on to him and love him. Though the Austrian find out what Cap was doing, she still stay with him. In fact, when things hard, she start pawning wristwatch, ring, coat, shoes and anything to get a penny, and she giving Cap all the money. Cap used to send she round by a fella named Daniel to borrow, and she would go there and cry big water and say how things hard, and the old Daniel, who can't bear to see a woman cry, would lend her... Sorry, I'm totally tongue-tied now. And she would go there and cry big water and say how things hard, and the old Daniel, who can't bear to see a woman cry, would lend she £5–6. So that kind of gives you a flavour for it, and as you continue to read, you kind of get into the rhythm of it. So that's finished, and I have just started this. So this is The Hare with Amber Eyes, Hidden Inheritance by Edmund de Waal, I think it is, or de Waal. Please correct me on my pronunciation if I've got it totally wrong. I am not usually a fan of biographies or autobiographies, but I'm making an exception for this. It was the winner of the 2010 Costa Biography Award, and yeah, so 264 Japanese wooden ivory carvings, none of them bigger than a matchbox. Edmund de Waal was entranced when he first encountered the collection in his great uncle Iggy's Tokyo apartment. When he later inherited the Netsuke, they unlocked a story far larger and more dramatic than he could ever have imagined. I have a thing about Netsuke anyway. You may have, I've kind of got an idea from things that I've said in previous podcasts, particular styles, but I just love Japanese culture. Netsuke, maneki neko, ramen. Yeah, I'd love to go to Japan at some point. Even Noro yarn. So yeah, this has got me, and I actually have a little Netsuke. It's a resin one somewhere, a dragon, that I will have to see if I can look out. So I'm 4.5% of my way through the novel, I just started at tail end yesterday and I've not had as much time for reading this week as I normally have. I watched the first episode of The Living and the Dead, which is a BBC psychological thriller. The second part is a six-parter, second part's on tonight, and it stars Colin Morgan, who I felt awful because as I was watching it I didn't realise it was him at first. And just, he is fit, totally handsome, and then it dawned on me that he was the lead character in Merlin that I watched years and years ago, and he just looked like a very clean-faced young boy there. A quick search on Wiki shows that he's 30 years old, so I don't feel so bad now for feeling as I did, but I just thought, oh my goodness, am I lusting after this sprightly young thing here, which would have just been wrong. But it was quite grisly, so yeah, I would definitely recommend that you tune in and check that out. I also watched We Did It, but this is just a start by David Icke. Not actually a David Icke fan. This was like one of the video podcasts that he does on his channel, but Josh and I had just kind of been talking about David Icke following the kind of the referendum and other sort of things that are going on in this world. So I had that on, I think I was cleaning the kitchen or something like that, and I just kind of stuck it on. And I watched Orange is the New Black on Times Talk, which had, I think it was 6 or 7 of the main characters from Orange is the New Black following season 4. You'll find that on YouTube, and that was quite interesting. I have been listening to the Henning Mankell audiobook of Faceless Killers, but I can't remember who is doing the narration as I'm talking to you just now, so please accept my apologies for that one. I'd like to give out some pod love now. I have mentioned Susan before from the One More Row podcast, and we've done swaps, and I think I kind of mention her most weeks, but I think it's really important at the minute to kind of bring up a bit more pod love for her, because I was blown away by her most recent episode where she went on a road trip, and